Good morning, everyone. We will get underway. I'm still hearing an echo in someone's device. Blaise Segal's got it figured out. Okay, thanks. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our regular board. Oh, no, this is a special board meeting for April 26th, 2023. Before we begin, I'd like to recognize with gratitude that we're here on the unceded territory of the Cowichan Tribes people, and we work within the territories of the Coast Salish people and the Channel people out on the West Coast, and I know we're all thankful to be here and to serve. With that, we will get underway. The first item on our agenda this morning is the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda this morning, Ms. Mohan? No.
No, not that I'm aware of.
Thank you. I know, it's just one item, so. Okay. Moved by Director Morrison. Seconded by Director Nicholson. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. That takes us to public input period. I don't believe we have anyone online for public input period. So please, if you'd like to step to the microphone. Good morning, Mr. Evans.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, it's really great to see the Cowichan watershed on the agenda today for their delegation. It's always a pleasure to work with them, especially Tom Rutherford. He's working on a national salmon program now, but we have done so much work with them, and I've read through the reports, and it is a stellar report and probably the envy of every watershed in Canada. So it's good to work with the watershed. We've done water sampling for them and water testing. Actually, they do most of the sampling, and we have the expertise for the testing. Looking at their budget is really, really great. They have moved that budget up from 50,000 to we're working in the 100,000s now. So you can see that money begets money. And I noticed that the Cowichan watershed gets a $50,000 contribution from the regional water fund. That really helps out multiplying and leveraging your money. I also noticed, Mr. Chair, on the agenda today that we now have on number 14 notice of motion. And it would be nice if the Shawnigan Lake watershed too could get a contribution of $50,000, and you or any, because this is regional, you or any of the other directors sitting here today could make that motion.
Sorry, Mr. Evans, I think you're referring to the afternoon meetings agenda right now?
I think this is on the delegation. Number 14?
Oh, okay, thank you. Sorry, I thought you were talking about an item on this a notice of motion on this afternoon's agenda.
You're welcome, Mr. Chair. So I think working together as a team has really proven that it will work with the, as it has with the Cowichan Watershed Board. We work very closely with them, and especially in protecting the salmon and water. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Evans.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. My name is Kim Bernard, and greetings to all of the respected community leaders, friends, ISQAEL, and the CMSCA. I represent some of the unsinkable volunteers in Area B, and we celebrate our collaborations and partnerships. And I also want to publicly thank our area director, Sierra, for her participation in this Earth Day's cleanup. The work we do to take care of litter impacts our watershed in a positive way. And in the last 5 years, this event has enjoyed the fellowship of the Shawnigan Basin Society, and we look to build organizational resilience, share knowledge, and otherwise just strengthen the message in public outreach. And these are goals that are shared, I see, by the Cowichan Watershed Board. And so without funding, we work extra hard. But I would just like to say that
agenda.
Unsinkable volunteers and community engagement are our goals, and we celebrate the work of the Shawnigan Basin Society. Thank you.
Any further public input? Seeing none, thank you. We will move on with our agenda. The next item on our agenda is, in fact, our delegation, which is the Cowichan Watershed Board, here to present our 2023-24 business plan. Before we begin, I do want to recognize what an honor it is to serve as co-chair with the Cowichan Watershed Board and to work with Chief Whitsome as well as all of the other partners within Cowichan Tribes and the Cowichan Valley Regional District. Both our direct members and the whole satellite of orbit of organizations that contribute to this work, community members, nonprofits, and community stewardship groups. I've often said that the greatest opportunity to sit in this chair is to serve as co-chair of the Cowichan Watershed Board, and this term has been a gift beyond any that I've received so far, working with Chief Whitsome, and it's nice to have you here this morning, Stuart, as well. And the entire team has been really moving to that next level of understanding watershed governance, reconciliation work between Cowichan Valley Regional District and Cowichan Tribes, and that whole of watershed approach. And as we've sort of often said and reinforced, especially during this early months of this term, is that for all the work we do together as we move forward in a good way, the work that we do around water and watersheds is that steady, strong connection that binds us. So with that, I'll turn it over to our delegation. Welcome, Stuart, and to the rest of the team, and we look forward to the conversation. Thank you.
Ai nei te sena seia anta Quiakwalt Tanitanach ia te I Slamslamalets Iwensa Questi Tala Atana Natasas Heitzapka Quasi Altmasdolch Tana Siais ia te I the Cowitson Anta Quiakwalt. Good morning. My name is Stuart. My traditional name is Quiakwalt, and I come from Clemlet's village here in Cowichan. I have been sent here on behalf of Cowichan Tribes, and I jokingly said they must want to send the nice guy over to the CVRD. I've been in chief and council for 9 years, so in political years it must be 81 years. I truly have learned a lot working for my nation, understanding why I'm here, being the voice of the Cowichan people, learning about Canada, learning about local politics and provincial politics, and in the end, we all have the common goal. And I'm here today to share with you the beautiful work that our staff, our co-governance have been doing. This has come way before my time, but we have some amazing people who have dedicated a lot of who they are and their life to this. And words aren't enough to express how we feel to continue on, the legacy of our elders. This is the work that we're doing, and it is very meaningful, and it needs to get done. And without this partnership, we cannot do it alone. We simply cannot do this alone. And I'm not sure how much time I have, but I will keep it short. Chief Whitsome can't be here today, but she sends her regrets. She's the founder of this movement many, many years ago. And if she was here, she would echo the same things I think that I've just laid out before you about the important work there's no doubt in my mind we're going to have to roll up our sleeves on this. There's no doubt in my mind there's some huge work to be taken on yet, if at all. So, but the determination, the collaboration, and I said before, the history of the Cowichan people and its waterways, they're epic. I mean, they're so beautiful. And why aren't we taking care of it? Why aren't we doing everything possible to take care of these beautiful things that we live by, that we live downstream by? So with that, CMNC, I'm so grateful for your time, your presence, and the work that you do for your community and your citizens needs to be applauded as well. So, Haitzapka.
And as Tom takes the microphone, I should have just asked the board if we could get a motion to maybe extend the delegation. Moved by Director Staples, seconded by Director Acton. All those in favor? None opposed. Motion carries. Go ahead, Tom. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair Stone. CM not CA Ainetach, Iquinus Ilamnala, It's Kakip Atanaquel Tuniata Kowatsan Tamach, Aishkwalo and Oniat Titsoadal ni Atasiais. So in my halting Juanitum Hulkaminum, and I'm nervous with Stuart standing beside me, what I'm trying to say is it's a real privilege to be here with you, and it's a privilege to be able to talk about the important work we're doing together, and it's a privilege to be here on the traditional territory of the Cowichan people. I've been associated with the Watershed Board in different capacities since its inception in 2010. So the first 6 or 7 years, I represented the federal government on the Technical Advisory Committee. And when I retired, I was lucky enough to be asked to assume the role of executive director for the last 6 years. And I've stepped back from that this fall, but I'm still associated with the board. And one of the gifts, and my association has given me a lot of gifts. One of them is the opportunity to learn Hulkaminum, right? The language where I live, right? The language of the land we call home. And it hasn't been easy, and I'm always worried about making a mistake and not being respectful. And I shared that with my teacher, Philomena, who happens to be Stuart's mom. And what she said to me is, don't be afraid to make a mistake, right? People that don't make mistakes don't do anything. And I tell you this story because it makes me think of the Watershed Board, right? This thing we've created is not the usual way of doing business for a regional district. And it's not the usual way of doing business for a First Nation. And we've probably made mistakes, and we'll probably make some more. But I think in order to move forward, we need to take the risk associated with that. And I think the risk has really proven to be justified. So I'm going to move quickly through a presentation, and I think I can drive this. Can I drive it? Yeah. So I'm going to try and do this in 15 minutes. And I'd like to start with a bit of a background for those of you who may not be as familiar with the board as I am and others, and then really quickly run through our annual report, which you have in your package, which is kind of a little story about what we were able to do last year, and then our business plan, which outlines what we hope to do and are doing this year. And then I'd like to turn it over to my excuse me, my colleague Lisa, who's going to talk a little bit about the setting the course workshop that we had a couple months ago, in which we really concentrated on how to make this unique partnership between the largest First Nation in BC and one of, if I may say, one of the more progressive local governments in the province, how we can make that partnership work better. So quickly, things you already know. The Watershed Board was created 13 years ago by some very visionary leaders, Chief Whitsom, Chair Jerry Giles at the time. And it's unique in the province. There is no other watershed board like the Cowichan Watershed Board. It's co-chaired by the chief of the tribes, the chair of the regional district. It represents a committed partnership. And it's created this ability for an organization that really represents what I see as maybe a first halting step down the path of reconciliation, but also an organization that gets a lot of stuff done, right? A lot of important work. And I think that, for me, is the magic of it. So I'm going to show you this picture, and I know no one wants to see org charts like at 9:30 on a Wednesday morning, but for me, it's a great lesson in how far we've come. So I was involved in the Cowichan Basin water management planning process from 2004 to 2007. And we created an award-winning watershed plan. And the plan called for an organization to actually deliver the plan. And the vision of that organization is on the left, where CVRD sits where it should, right at the top of the heap, and then everyone else, so whatever, right? The logging companies, the tourists, the First Nations all sit around that table. That was just 13 years ago. Well, no, a little longer. I'm a biologist, not a mathematician, right? But not that long ago. And it won awards. And the watershed board structure, which was created 3 years later, is on the right, where Cowichan tribes comes to the table not looking for authority, but bringing authority, where CVRD comes to the table in partnership, not looking for authority, but bringing authority is, excuse me, is delegated under the Local Governance Act. Where we have a table not of like interests, we have a table of leaders with a common purpose. It's a lot different, right? And I give this organization, CVRD and Cowichan Tribes, a tremendous amount of credit for making that leap and for leading and still continuing to lead with a model that's truly unique and has proven to be really effective. So here's our board now. A lot of familiar smiling faces, right? We have representatives, elected officials from both CVRD and Cowichan Tribes. And we have appointees or representatives from senior government, and we have members at large who are appointed by the co-chairs. And I would just point out again that this is an eclectic group of people, but they have a couple things in common. One is they are leaders, and the other is they are committed. They are committed to the communities in which they live and serve, and they are committed to the Cowichan watershed. So that's who we are, or who's on the board. So what is the Watershed Board? And I'm not a contrarian by nature, but I decided today I'd start off by just pointing out what we aren't. As I said, we're not a stakeholders table representing interests. We're not a table of technical experts, although we have technical experts on the board. We're not an ENGO. And we're not a model that exists anywhere else in BC or the world for that matter. We are unique. And I realize because of that uniqueness, it's something that doesn't fit probably very well within the way that regional districts usually do their business. And to be frank, it doesn't fit very well with the way First Nations usually do their business either, right? But I think there's real strength in that uniqueness. So if this is what we aren't, what are we? We're a table of leaders. We're an organization that's totally focused on the Cowichan watershed, that's focused on our community, that has a singular mission. And we're an organization that has proven itself to be able to get important work done on the ground. This isn't an academic exercise, right? This is a way to get things really accomplished that need to be accomplished in a good way. And I don't have to remind you, although I will, of the urgency around some of these issues around water sustainability in our watershed. We are experts in leveraging resources, and I'll speak a little bit more about that later. We've also proven pretty effective at being influential at the provincial and federal levels. And I'll tell you, I've had the privilege and opportunity of driving down to the ledge with co-chairs to meet with ministers dating back from, Thompson and like Pollock in the Liberal regime right up through Heyman and Donaldson and Cullen, and it makes an impression when the chief of a First Nation and the chair of a regional district come into that office together. Because I'll tell you what, ministers don't see that. It's not that they don't see it very often, they never see it. And it's a pretty strong statement on the hard work that this community has done to be able to work together. And it's very effective. So, I don't want to get too high up on a soapbox, although I don't mind standing on a soapbox every now and then. But from my singular perspective, which is one man's opinion, I think, you guys are way ahead of the pack when it comes to struggling with this question of how to do things in British Columbia in a good way, what reconciliation may or may not mean, what our role is in it as non-Indigenous people and as leaders. I think we can all point to the Watershed Board and saying, we have kind of institutionalized here something that's effective and meaningful, right, to all our partners. And I think that's important. So I've spoken a little bit about who we are and what we do, or no, I haven't spoken about what we do. So now I'm going to do that. And what we do is in fact captured in the documents that you have in the business report and the business plan and the annual report. Get my words right. And I think it's important just to remember that all the work we do is kind of based on working together. So it's based on this partnership I'm talking about. It's based on working with other groups in the watersheds, whether it's the Cowichan Lake and River Stewardship Society or Somenos Marsh or the Shawnigan folks, working together. And it's also focused on working together with our senior government partners. And I think they find it pretty attractive to be able to engage with a community that's already done a lot of the hard work that they usually have to do in bringing people together. We're way ahead of them, and we all deserve credit for that. And it's an effective model. So really quickly now, I'm going to run through in like 8 minutes or less our annual report and our business plan. So the annual report 2022, I don't have to tell you, it was kind of a challenging year, right? We were coming out of COVID. There was elections here, there was elections down the road at Cowichan Tribes, new faces, new people, like staff turnover at the Watershed Board, right? I'm stepping away, and we had floods, and we had drought. It's hard to believe we had drought when you think about what last spring looked like. And then the 1st of July, someone turned off the tap. I didn't have much rain at my place until Christmas, right? And we were pretty cocky, those of us that manage water and look at how we're doing. And then come about November, we weren't so cocky anymore, right? And I think that's just an example of the challenges we will continue to face year after year after year. So not an easy year, but we managed to get a lot done, again, working together. And I think the three things I would highlight out of that stellar report that you have in your meeting package. We're working closely with CVRD, Cowichan Tribes, and Paper Excellence to get the work done we need to do to provide more storage for our river so we have sustainable water for the future. And this project is not for my kids, it's for their grandkids, right? Like we need to do this work now. And I compliment CVRD staff who have been engaged and Couch and Tribe staff. There's a really strong team working on this, and we're making progress. Same problem, different solution in the Cook-Silo watershed, where we don't have that opportunity for a techno fix. We've been working closely with Couch and Tribes in the province to set the table for the first water sustainability plan in the province of BC. That will be happening here. I'm expecting there to be a signing ceremony with the minister next month. We've been working on that for 3.5 years just to build the level of trust needed for the partners to sit down and say, we are going to do this. There's a lot of water under the bridge between the nations and the province. Most of it's muddy, right? There's a lot of hard work, and the Watershed Board was able to bring those parties together. And now Couch and Tribes is demonstrating very strong and effective leadership on that file. And then last of all, we're doing lots of things in the field, from water quality sampling to river cleanups to our outreach, which includes, if you haven't met him, Stockwe, our 6-foot dancing Chinook salmon. I'm hoping you have a chance to meet him if you haven't. So lots of outreach, our speaker series, riparian restoration, a lot of research on the Cook-Silo watershed to develop our environmental flows, like critical flows, so lots of work last year. I show you this, I am a biologist, I'm not a money guy, but just to give you an example of how the board works. Those pie charts, and I like pie charts because I don't have to be very smart to understand them, are from last year and the year before. You can see the CVRD contributions, and you can see the leveraging that we've managed to achieve through that. So probably 10 to 1 in 2021, probably 12 to 1 in 2022. And I just bring this up because I want to mention that we appreciate the fiscal support provided to the Watershed Board. It's essential to us. We don't spend that on projects. We just spend that on keeping the bus on the road. And I'll tell you, it's a skinny bus. The Watershed Board has no office, no computers, no phones, no furniture, no vehicles. We all work out of our homes. My dad was a farmer, quick story, and usually the ugliest looking, skinniest cows were the ones that produced the most. They were the money makers. My dad always used to say, she's putting it all in the pail. And I will tell you, the Watershed Board's putting it all in the pail. There's not a lot of frills going on here. So, next year, I would say, geez, maybe there's a room full of dairy farmers here, I'm not sure. We're in tough shape, right? We are in tough shape with respect to our water, with climate change. And there's two ways to go there, right? That sense of despair or that sense of purpose. And I think in this community, it's given us a sense of purpose. So we are full speed ahead, 4 major areas of work this year. Sustainable, like rivers and water, working to achieve our targets. Our work plan is focused around 7 major targets, so continuing the work on the ground, strengthening our partnerships. One thing about partnerships is you're never done and dusted, right? It's never like, well, we've got that figured out, we don't have to worry about those guys anymore. Partnerships are something that need constant care and feeding, and we realize that, and we invest energy in it. And then finally, we're looking closely at our outreach and education and also managing information so that everyone has access to it so we can work together more productively. So really quickly, I'm taking too long here, but working hard on the Weir, wonderful partners, CVRD staff, Couch Tribes, the mill, not without its challenges. This year, we need to come up with a strategy to secure the license, firm up ownership. You've been talking about these things around this table. We certainly appreciate the time and energy and thought that you're putting into this. because this is work that needs to be done for my kids and their kids, and we are close. I've been working on this file for over 20 years, and I can taste it now. We're pretty close, right? So we need to push this over the top. You need to push this over the top. On the Coxsila, as I say, we're expecting a signing ceremony very soon, and the Watershed Board has been asked by like both partners to be an integral part of that process moving forward. And again, I think demonstrating the respect that this partnership, that your work and the work of Cowichan in working together is really evident to those outside the watershed, like our provincial partners. We have 4 target working groups where representatives from over 30 organizations come together to work together. Here's where the technical expertise is, right, on our working groups. And so we have working groups focused on estuarine health, focused on like fish health, right, focused on water quality. So we're going to continue that good work. We're also going to work on a mechanism to assure that each working group has an Indigenous co-chair, right, which we don't have now, to like mimic the watershed model that we have at our board table. And we're working with internal and external partners to create a new target that really demonstrates whole of watershed. So a lot of good work on that front, and we're really lucky to have been able to engage Heather Pritchard to coordinate that work. So moving ahead there. One of our principles, not samat kusiyais taka, right? Coming together to work together. And I'll tell you another quick story. We had a workshop in 2018 that included some of you here, so senior staff and elected officials from Cowichan and from CVRD. And at the time, Chief Seymour suggested that we adopt this as one of our principles, which is a teaching that predates contact. And pretty well every other Cowichan Tribes member in the room said, nope, these guys aren't ready for that. They don't understand how deep a commitment this is. And it was one of those chicken skin moments where we, like old white guys like me, got to sit in on this pretty animated conversation. And in the end, the decision was, yes, we need to do this. This is urgent. We need to trust that this is going to work out. And so I tell that story because it speaks to me the hard work of maintaining trust and a relationship when the organizations we work for often aren't really set up to do that, right? So we're going to continue working on building partnerships, and we're going to continue working on educating the people that live in the watershed, the people that care. We're going to continue being able to use the information we have and share it with all our partners. And I'll tell you, this could be some of the most important work we do. Because if it's only us, right, that care about this stuff, we're going to fail. We need to bring the community with us, right? We need to bring the bus drivers and the teachers and the farmers along with us. And we need to be able to effectively communicate why this is important and why they need to be engaged. You don't have to read this slide. Well, maybe Ian would like to read it out for us. No. So I just put this up here because these are the people that sit on our working groups, right? And we don't pay them. And they're busy. They have lots of work to do. And they come and they, in fact, participate in the working groups because they see value in it for them. And they see value in the watershed board model. And they see value in the work we're doing together. And the point being, it's a long, eclectic list of really talented subject matter experts. So bottom line, why should you guys care about any of this? First thing is it's important work, right? I mean, we all understand that. Secondly is what we've created here is working out, right? Chief Whitsom and our public health officer, Dr. Shannon Waters, who sits on our board, are speaking in a room maybe a little larger than this. They're in New York City today speaking to the UN about the work that's happening in this watershed, right? And about the work you are doing. So when I talk about the Watershed Board having a provincial program, or profile, even a national profile, now I'm going to start talking about an international profile, right? And I think everybody in this room should take credit for that. So I think together, through a model that allows us to actually do good, important work on the ground, we are taking, as I said earlier, perhaps what could be seen as the first kind of faltering steps down a better way of doing business, right? Down a road of reconciliation. That's a bold statement, but I believe it to be true. And I believe that the work you are doing to figure out a way to make this work is really effective and really meaningful. So I'm gonna close by something. I'm gonna steal some words from Shannon Waters, who was at our speaker series event 2 weeks ago, and she said, "My participation on the Cowichan Watershed Board is one of the greatest joys of my life and one of the greatest responsibilities." And those words really struck a lot of resonance with me, and so I thought I'd share them with you. So thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. And I would like to ask Lisa now to come up and just give you a quick update on the work we are doing to strengthen our partnership through our Setting the Course workshops. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. He's a really tough act to follow, being the wonderful ambassador of this watershed in this place. Thank you, Chair Stone and regional directors. I'm pleased to be here and honored to be working with the Cowichan Watershed Board. I'm just going to talk a little bit about the Setting the Course, and you've seen the final report in your package, and I hope you've had time to at least brush through it. You can see that it was really a great initiative to bring the partnership back together, really explore the strengths and the weaknesses and the opportunities for the Cowichan Watershed Board to work together going forward. So I've just got 3 slides, so I'm going to be really short. One of the big things is celebrating the achievements. We had, as you've heard, 13 years of the Cowichan Watershed Board working towards sustainability in the watershed. It's come a long way, and there is a slide in here that has, you'll see Jill pointing to a bunch of work on the wall. It's like it started off a little bit slow with some gradual progress, and then boom, all of this work happened. And so we were actually surprised when we were pasting up these, milestones on a timeline in our workshop in January. There wasn't enough room on the wall for the amount of work that was done in that short amount of time by this group. So we did take the opportunity at a workshop in January to celebrate those achievements. Preceding the workshop, though, it's important for you to know that we hired a facilitator that helped us to craft some very important questions for our board members, our senior staff from our partners with Cowichan Tribes and CVRD, our advisors, and we walked through like hour-and-a-half long meetings, exploring in detail what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses, what are the opportunities, how do we really understand the role and the mandate of the Cowichan Watershed Board. And we took that information to a workshop in January, and we workshopped through what we heard with the board, with the senior staff of both partners, and really started to robustly look at how can we make this happen? How can we make success happen for us into the future? So the workshop, the whole process was really about reestablishing our commitments to working together as partners, and under the principle of not sumat quaseus taka. And you'll hear that quite a bit, and you'll see it in writing as we go forward, because it is really one of the strongest principles of the organization. One of the main purposes of Setting the Course was really updating and confirming the commitment to the mandate and role of the Cowichan Watershed Board. What did we hear? Yes, keep up the great work, because there has been a lot of great work done. But we also heard that we really need to be very succinct in how we communicate the role and the scope and the mandate of the Cowichan Watershed Board, both to the community and as partners, how we communicate what we do as partners in a watershed board. We do need to continue to work at this partnership, reaffirming the membership responsibilities and strengthening our relationships every chance we get. We do need to seek out adequate funding for this work, and you saw that there's a lot of really important work to come. So we do need to adequately staff that work as well. We also heard that we need to do a little bit of a better job at getting at the youth and the elders in our community. We have some beautiful communications and engagement strategies that have been implemented over the years. This year we've got some really exciting progress that you'll see coming up in the spring and fall, and our speakers series. But there is some message that we heard at Setting the Course about let's try to involve our youth, which is the future of our watershed, and our elders for their knowledge and their wisdom. And again, touching on the strengthening of our partnership and understanding the role and the mandate, we need to do a bit of a better job at involving both partners in strategic planning on a more regular basis. So there is work to do. This is the last slide, I promise. We have a leadership team, which is a segment of the Cowichan Watershed Board that oversees the work of the staff. And so they're our touchstone in the middle of the month between board meetings. And they've generously given us an hour and a half to 2 hours once a month to help us guide our work. This team is overseeing some changes to a governance manual that will include the recommendations from Setting the Course and a little bit of a tweak to the structure of our governance manual so that we can really clearly articulate the mandate, the role, with a brand new mission statement. And it is the guiding document for the partnership between the CVRD and Cowichan Tribes as we work together in the Cowichan Watershed Board. So please expect that to come back to you guys probably in the late spring, early summer. If it needs to, it might be the fall, but we're hoping to bring it back to you shortly. The leadership team is also overseeing the recommendations and Setting the Course, and we've operationalized that. And so you can see here we've got, again, some of our key things that we're working on is making the business case work for us so that we can talk about the value of the Cowichan Watershed Board and bring in additional funding to support the core work that we do, keeping the bus on the road. Staffing, ensuring that we have a staffing model that reflects the priorities of our partners on the board. So that means you and Cowichan Tribes, making sure that we can actually deliver on those priorities. Increasing our communications and engagement and planning for regular strategic planning. So planning for planning, making sure it's in our plan. So with that, my final comment really is that the work of Setting the Course as an initiative was about strengthening our partnership. And this is that internal, yes, it's internal work, but it really is necessary work to do on a regular basis so that we all can really reaffirm why we're here and the work that we're doing and the importance of committing to that work. So thank you for your time.
Thank you all. And thank you for the presentation. I must say that you know, for me, this is, I've seen it a couple times at Muck Committee, but every time I see it, it reminds me of all the work that goes on, and I'm often shocked that we can do so much with such a lean and efficient organization. Before we go to any questions, I just want to obviously invite directors to ask any questions of our presenters. I do recognize that we're running a bit late. We did get a bit of a late start, so if maybe we can agree that if we get up against it, we could just start our next committee meeting a few minutes late. That would just allow folks to ask questions if they need. And I do want to reflect on our new sort of appointment policy that we have at CVRD about how our appointees will be reporting back to the board, and we'll continue to coordinate and work with our Cowichan Watershed Board partners to make sure that we're sort of bringing that regular feedback loop to the board as we move through the coming months, years ahead. And I want to reflect on something that means a lot to me, is that everyone in this conversation at Cowichan Tribes and at the Cowichan Valley Regional District refers to this as a partnership. Partnership is a really important word. for me. I've worked with a lot of different communities, a lot of different First Nations over the last decade or so, and it takes a long time to build relationships and trust to the point where you talk about a partnership. And that can't be understated. You know, we collaborate, we communicate, we work together, but when we get to the level of having a partnership, it means a lot. And I know it means a lot to me, and I think it's important that we recognize what the meaning of that word is in the context of the work that we do together in partnership with Cowichan tribes. And I just want to raise my hands to everybody at the Watershed Board and the guidance and leadership that we've received from Cowichan tribes, because for all that my brain thinks I know, I discover every day that there's still so much more to learn, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity. Just want to turn it over to the board, and I know I don't want you to feel rushed, but if you have any questions, thoughts, please share them. And just know that this is part of an ongoing dialogue that we'll have as we move forward together. Director Wilson, then Morrison, then Acton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the members of the board there for giving that presentation. Very quickly, thank you again for all the vital work that you're doing, and it continues to be done. And I have to applaud the vision of those founders from 14 years ago. It was an amazing piece of work to form this committee, and I'm very, very impressed. I'm glad to see it on. One of the key phrases that I heard there was supporting watershed health. That's probably one of the most important things that we can do at the moment. So thank you again for all the work you did. Thank you for your presentations.
Thank you. Director Morrison.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the presentation. And I just want to echo a little bit of what Tom had said about the reputation of this organization. And going back to the stewardship of Roger Hunter in this, and the concept of suasion, and there wasn't much more there wasn't a lot more gravitas that the Watershed Board had in the early days other than suasion, and that suasion has paid off in the sense that I was at UBCM Advocacy Days in Victoria last week, and in my meeting with Minister Heyman, my colleagues introduced themselves, and he walked up to me and said, "Hi, Ian, how's it going?" And I'm thinking, well, and responded, he says, "You know, we first met with a Cowichan Watershed Board event all those years ago." And in an Environment Committee meeting, there was a senior provincial bureaucrat that spoke often and fondly of the reputation and the great works of the Cowichan Watershed Board. So it's a hard-fought and hard-developed reputation this organization has, and is now, as Tom had said, going international. Just want to share one thing, though, that's a little bit of a concern to me, and I hope it's heard by the Watershed Board folks, is there's been turnover at the lake with new owners of properties. There's been some folks that have been there that are still of a mind that maybe the Weir project isn't as important it is, and maybe there isn't the pressure on fish because there has been some good years in returns. I just want to raise that thought that we may have some work to go back to do to reinvigorate and reconfirm all of the great work that's been done so far. I think that there's a lot of great work moving forward, but I think maybe the foundation of the good work that's been done already needs to be reaffirmed and maybe firmed up a little bit. And I'll leave that as a comment so that everyone's aware that that's what I'm hearing on the ground. Thank you.
Thanks, Director Morrison. Director Acton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, thank you for the presentation. I always learn so much when I see you guys, whether it's a luncheon or here. I guess my question is, as representing the Coxsilo watershed, we're really struggling here. Director Nicholson and I just had a conversation this morning. You know, we're waiting, as you know, we're waiting for a sustainability plan from the province, but, you know, so I'm sometimes of the mindset, you can't always wait. And we're seeing development, deforestation. So I'm just wondering, I don't want to put you on the spot, you can email me if you're not ready to respond to this, but like what, if there was one action we could take, what could we do now? I feel like there's no more time to just sit around and wait for this plan. So like, is it do we need to just create a land acquisition plan right away, or what is it? So any kind of advice that you can throw my way or our way would be really beneficial. And so that's a loaded question, I know.
Not to put you on the spot. Tom?
Sure. So first of all, I'll say that the Watershed Board is supporting the authority holders at the table. So we're not decision makers, so I can't speak for the process, but I always have an opinion. And so I'll share a bit of information and then I'll provide an opinion. The people at the planning table realize that this is not quick work and realize that the situation isn't great. So they are working, and I'm not at liberty to talk too much about it, but they're working on some interim things that are going to affect meaningful changes in the regulatory approach to how things are going to work out there that could be implemented on a quicker basis. So you're not the only one thinking that yes, this planning process is important, but it's going to take years, right? And so we need to do other things. And the other thing I would say is we all see the pressure, and we're all in a position to use whatever power or influence or suasion we have to implement positive change now. So we don't have to wait for a plan, right? Someone in your position that, looks to residential development. I mean, you have an ability to impart change. The people that manage water can do that now. So none of us have to wait. Like, I've kind of drank the Kool-Aid. I think this planning process is going to be good and is going to really affect positive change, but it doesn't mean all the other people that are doing all the good work in the watersheds have to wait, right? We can do things ourselves in the interim, and I have confidence that the decision makers at the table realize the urgency of the situation. So I have some confidence that everyone on the short term needs to do and should do, including you, what they can. With some confidence that there's a longer term solution at hand. So hopefully that wasn't too much of a political answer, but yeah, that's my feeling.
Necessarily so. I don't see any more hands. I do want to give a really warm and thankful applause to our guests this morning. And I know that we are up against it, but I just want to again share my gratitude and my thanks to everyone who's doing this important work, both at our table, at Cowichan Tribe's table, and all of the stewardship groups and community members that continue to contribute to this, because it is life's work stuff that's really transcends the importance of the day-to-day work that we do here. So thank you, Heitsepka. It's with my gratitude. Thank you. And before they run out the door, and so we get to say goodbye to them, I was looking for moving to question period. It's fine, you folks can go. I was hoping to see you before you left, but I realize you probably got somewhere to be, and we do have question period.
Do you want us to stay?
It's okay.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's Kim Bernard once again. And is everyone aware that this Saturday there's an urgent intervention on the Quetzalcoatl for the health of the south side of the riverbank? There's an abandoned homeless cleanup that's happening there. And folks and gear from Rotary and Shawelican, as well as Duncan Rotary, are coming to assist. And it's representative of the collaborations that the Cowichan Watershed Board has hoped to foster. So thank you.
Thank you.
And do you have any advice for us? Thank you.
Advice for you about this cleanup on Saturday, or in general?
Collaborations and strengthening these
In
partnerships.
general, I think we need to sort of contribute and respect the work that all of our groups do in the communities and across the region. And when those opportunities come, to respect and listen to those groups, that we do that. So I think that the more we all contribute, both with our hands, our hearts, and our minds, the better it is for all that live here.
Haitsapka, CMNSEA.
Thank you. Anyone else for question period? Not trying to rush you, Cliff, but talk fast. And just pull the mic down, Cliff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That was an excellent presentation we had. And Tom Rutherford brought some interesting things out, and that is we have to work closer with the students and also our university people. And at the watershed, we're trying to do this. In fact, we even had a donation from the Francis Kelsey School. So we hope, Mr. Chair, that with the Cowichan watershed, that this can be implemented. Can it?
I was like, I could feel Cliff's little question at the end where you go, can it? I hope so as well, Mr. Evans. I can't speak to that in detail right now, but I think that, yeah, we're all, I think, working best we can to advance the priorities for whole of watershed health throughout the entire region. I like to note that today's meeting is very much about Cowichan Watershed Board and their work, and I want to respect that. But as on the broader conversation around watershed health and management, I know we all need to continue to have conversations and collaboration to do better by our watersheds and the people that our watersheds support.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. That was an excellent presentation.
Thank you. All right, thank you, directors. Can I get a motion to adjourn? Moved by Director Douglas, seconded by Director Martman. All those in favor? Any opposed?